Well, I wasn't expecting making a video tonight, but this news might take the cake for the craziest, biggest story in video gaming in 2020. Which is definitely saying something, because 2020 has been one hell of a year. But CD Projekt Red, the developer for the game CyberPunk 2077, sent out a letter saying if you're not happy with this game, you guys can ask for a refund from Sony or Microsoft, without confirming with Sony and Microsoft on how to get your money back. So obviously Sony and Microsoft were defaulting to their policies that were already in place and not refunding the game like they said they would do if you just asked them. But this recent turn of events, I couldn't have even predicted. Ask PlayStation just came out with a tweet, and CyberPunk 2077 has been delisted from the PlayStation Store. I can't make this stuff up. This is bonkers. Like, this whole story is completely spiraling out of control. The bigwigs over at CD Projekt Red probably too busy snorting cocaine out of the lines they're doing from all the money they made right now. But honestly, they effed this game up so bad and were greedy enough to push it out when it wasn't ready, to the point of causing a major catastrophe for these gaming companies. As PlayStation came out with this tweet, official tweet from Sony Interactive Entertainment, and it says, Sony Interactive Entertainment strives to ensure a high level of customer satisfaction, and we will begin to offer a full refund for all gamers who have purchased CyberPunk 2077 via PlayStation Store and want a refund. Please visit the following link to initiate the refund. Which I would think, okay, they finally got together with CD Projekt Red and discussed Cyberpunk 2077 and realized, oh crap, we probably need to override the policies we have in place for this special circumstance, this situation that completely blows the lid off any policies that were already in place. A developer is basically proactively saying, yeah, just go to these game companies and get your money back from them without researching the policy, without talking to the game companies, just presuming that you could just get your money back when you buy a game. You can't. And people were getting pissed. I was getting tagged on Twitter multiple times by like 12, 13 people tagged me on Twitter saying that they were upset. They tagged me pictures showing screenshots of what Sony reps were saying to them, and basically flew right in the face against what CD Projekt Red said when you could get your money back from the game. But this just took a even crazier turn, with PlayStation delisting the game. Delisting. Cyberpunk 2077 is no longer available to download currently on the PlayStation Store. And when I first read this, I was like, man, they really screwed up the PlayStation 4 version of this game really badly, enough to remove it from the store. But they removed it from the PlayStation 5 store as well. Basically, what this tells me is Sony is pretty peeved at CD Projekt Red, and they're trying to put out fires everywhere they can, and they don't want to keep overriding the policy they have in place, so instead of doing so, they're just removing the game in its entirety from being able to be downloaded right now in its current state. Which is crazy to me, because it works fine on my PlayStation 5. Well, I mean, within reason, fine enough. It's basically unplayable on the PlayStation 4, according to many people. I haven't even bothered trying on it, but I've seen plenty of pictures, screenshots, and videos, and glitches and bugs, where I'm just like, yeah, why would I waste my time? This game is definitely not ready to be played on last generation hardware. Which is wild if you think that CD Projekt Red was making this game 8 years ago for those consoles. And then when it comes out, it's not ready for the PlayStation 4 or Xbox One. It's barely ready for the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X. This game chugs, even on next-gen hardware. It works well enough, but I could only imagine what it's like if you were trying to take a turn and play it on the last-gen hardware. Lots of people are pissed off about this. Lots of people took to Twitter to say they were mad about it, and now we find ourselves in a point that even I could not have predicted. Sony taking this down from the store where you download it, even on the PlayStation 5. See, if it was just the PlayStation 4, I'd say, okay, I get it. The game's basically broken and they're sick of refunding people because they don't want to keep overriding the policy they have in place or whatever. I kind of get where Sony's coming from on that. And that would have been crazy enough, even though I would kind of understand it. but taking it down from the PlayStation 5 store is just unbelievable. That tells me that Sony has an agenda against CD Projekt Red right now. And probably rightfully so, actually, based off the corner that CD Projekt Red just painted Sony in, with basically saying, hey, I don't care what your policies are, refund everyone for the game that they download on your network, because we didn't make it right, and we were too busy snorting cocaine in our offices to make sure that developers were optimizing the game well enough to be able to play on last-gen hardware. But Sony is pissed at CD Projekt Red. That's the only explanation I can come up with, where they're just like, no, you guys created this catastrophe of a situation by making up these rules, playing by all of them without even confirming with us on what's okay and what's not, and just wildly throwing it out there for everyone to get pissed at us. So we're going to take it down. You're going to lose a bunch of sales. You're going to get really bad PR. And we're not going to deal with the refunds going forward. We're just going to refund people right now. And until you fix your game to a good enough state, we're not dealing with it. That's pretty intense. As of right now, it's still on the Xbox One and the Xbox Series S and Series X. But I wouldn't be surprised if that changes going forward, because honestly, CD Projekt Red threw Microsoft and Sony under the proverbial bus. They were like, oh, you don't like the game? We tried really hard on it. Sorry about that. Just request money back and we're all good. No harm, no foul. They didn't talk to Microsoft or Sony. Like, that much is crystal clear because of all the issues people were having when they were trying to get their refunds. People who were working at Sony and Microsoft, many of them had no idea CD Projekt Red even said that. So they're having so many issues getting their money back on a promise that CD Projekt Red made. This is a public relations disaster, one of epic proportions, and it's only magnified by the fact that this game is one of the biggest releases ever. And that's not an understatement. In development for 8 years. Tons of work went into this. Millions of dollars of development and countless hours of time. And people still can't get it to work on last generation hardware. This is the cherry on top to 2020. Honestly, it's absolutely insane to me that we've gotten to this point. I could only imagine what happens next. Would it be Microsoft taking it down from the store? I wouldn't put it past them. Like I said, it's something that CD Projekt Red threw Sony under the bus for. So it's only a matter of time that Microsoft gets wise to this and says, yeah, wait a second. You guys just said ask people to come to us for refunds for your broken game that you sell on our store. That's not on us. That's on you. If you want to refund them, you refund them. Not us. And I can kind of see where they're coming from with that. But personally, I am pissed at CD Projekt Red. And I think everyone who's a gamer has the right to be pissed at them, because they knowingly hid broken gameplay, broken bugs, glitches, and footage of this game from previous generation consoles, not letting anyone look at the game, not letting them so much as play a little bit of it on previous gens or show it off to their audience or anything before the game launched, to make sure they could sell it and then basically ask for forgiveness afterwards when they knew it was broken. That is dirty, it's greedy, it's scummy, it's the absolute worst behavior a publisher could possibly have. This is up there with what EA would do with microtransactions on a game they already sold and lied to you about what's on it. Or Capcom selling you a game with the DLC already on the disc and making you pay to unlock it. This is basically a broken game on previous generation consoles. And CD Projekt Red knew it. And they still move forward with selling it because they wanted the money. And they figured, okay, we'll take the money, and if it's really as bad as what everyone thinks it might be, which we already know because we're not letting anyone see it, so we know how bad it is. If it's really that bad and it gets a bad reception from them, we'll just put out a statement saying, okay, we'll give you guys your money back. It'll be a small percentage of people, a percent of a percent of a percent. Like, it's not going to be a large amount of people. Clearly, it's a ton of people asking for their money back. Enough for Sony to make one of the most insane moves I've seen from a gaming company ever. Delisting a multi-million-dollar game because it's so broken. You can't make this stuff up. CD Projekt Red should be embarrassed embarrassed. I feel bad for the developers that worked so hard on this game and didn't have the time to optimize it for the previous generation consoles and basically had guns to their heads to push this thing out of there as fast as possible to make sure the shareholders got their money, to make sure the bigwigs got their bonuses, to hold off on anybody seeing the previous generation versions of this game, to make sure that the Metacritic score wouldn't be affected too much, to make sure everyone got their bonuses. That's just awful stuff. It's awful. I feel dirty, like dirty covering this story. And this is coming from someone who's playing it on the PlayStation 5. And it's okay. It's nothing groundbreaking. It's nothing like, oh my god, you absolutely have to run out and get this game right now. It's fun enough. I mean, sometimes it's boring, sometimes it's overly complicated, sometimes it feels like a gigantic world with nothing to do in it, and way too big on the thoughts and scope without enough time put into making those realizations come to life the way they wanted them to. But ultimately, I'm not mad at the $60 purchase I had with it, because I got $10 off it when I bought it. But even at $50, I feel like I'll get my money's worth out of that on the PlayStation 5. But I'm just upset that I bought it early to support the tactics that this company did. This is the kind of stuff that makes everybody think twice when they pre-order a game. This is the kind of stuff that makes everybody think twice on getting hyped for a game. You can't even get excited anymore for anything because you don't know what you're even getting. I think that's what the problem is. Maybe eventually they'll patch it enough. What, a year down the road, 2 years down the road? For a single player campaign that you're not going to revisit probably, so who cares at that point? But maybe they will patch it enough at that point. But even if they do, who's going to care about it? This is one of those situations where, like I said in my previous video about it, CD Projekt Red put the gauntlet down. They said, we're not having any more delays. This game is coming out at this point, after countless delays leading up to that point. Clearly, they should have let this thing cook a hell of a lot longer. And by saying it's not going to have any more delays, it basically forced their hand and made them come out with a game that wasn't ready. And they say, oh, we'll patch it post-launch. People will deal with it. It's good enough. It's not good enough if you're trying to play a game and it crashes on you constantly, which reportedly is exactly what's happening with the previous generation console versions of this game. Anyways, that's where we find ourselves with this absolutely unfathomable story of CD Projekt Red's CyberPunk 2077. It's an okay game, just make sure you get a next-gen console, but the hate that is coming towards CD Projekt Red totally deserved. Like, they were greedy. They wanted everything and more. They should have just slapped the PS5 logo on this box and said, nope, doesn't work on PS4. And same thing with Xbox One and Xbox Series X. They should have said it's Series X and Series S and skipped previous generations. But they were greedy. They wanted everything they could have, and now they deal with the consequences. I'm going to leave the video right there. Thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, you stay smashing.